I don't know, can you?
Start right off, let me just throw out a couple names. LeBron James, Roger Federer, Ryan Lochte, Sean Johnson, Kimberly Road, and Greg Rutherford. If you haven't noticed, these people are Olympic athletes that play for our country, and in fact, they earned the medals for our country. And as you guys all know, Olympic is a time where we bring out this nationalism and patriotic spirit in our side that we never had, and we cheer for all these random sports for this one time every 4 years. Things like track and field, swims, water polo, equestrian. Do you guys even know what that is? Like, I didn't even know what that is, but you know, this is the time where we cheer for these stuff. And today, I want to make a claim that we need to compensate the players, athletes that are playing obscure sports. You'll know what I mean by, as I'm going over some of the things like their financial issues, how unsupported they are, the systems and the program, and lastly, fairness of these athletes go through. Start off right off, financial issues. Some of the things, Forbes magazine has listed top 5 grossing athletes that are Olympic athletes, and their names are Kobe, obvious one, Roger, and the name that I mentioned, Ryan Lochte, the swimmer, and Maria Sharapova, and the last one, Usain Bolt. These guys make banks of money. Kobe, Kobe by itself, by endorsement itself, he makes $28 million a year. And Usain Bolt recently had $8 million contract with Puma, and so as Roger Federer is making about $41 million per year. And this is just endorsement itself, their sponsorship and whatever their commercial they're in, whatever they're advertising for. It's crazy how much money they're making, and this is just endorsement itself, how crazy these players are. But going off, there's other side obviously that are playing obscure sports athletes. Amanda Beard, she's a swimmer who played in Olympic, have worked part-time job modeling for years to keep her careers for as a swimmer. And this is from her interview, and then she have said that she worked many other jobs in part besides modeling, and also there's this fact, the CNN has reported that only 50% of American track and field athletes, such are high ranked in their events, made $15,000 a year income from their sports alone. So that basically proves that unless your performance high for these obscure athletes, they have nowhere to make money for themselves. And in fact, there is not that many areas and competitions for these obscure sport athletes to play on and arenas, unlike NBA or tennis, which is year-round sport, and things like that. And you might be asking, how come these athletes are so lowly, like financially low, and how unsupported? And there goes on, and I'm saying these athletes are poorly unsupported in their system and their program. Going off right into it, obviously international Olympic committees, these guys don't pay off every single athlete that plays in Olympic. Which makes sense. How can one committee pay all these world athletes out there? But however, we have U.S. Olympic Committee, which they pays medal bonuses and stuff. These guys, it's crazy how unsupported they are. According to them, they paid $1.2 million to U.S. women rowing team. Do you guys even know what row is? But $1.2 million, and out of that, only $400 to $8 $100 is for their living expense. And these people, the women U.S. rowing team, share their room, share their expenses and everything just to live off and play their careers. Not only that, obviously IOC, the International Olympic Committees, puts enormous laws on these athletes so that they don't get any sponsorship during their performance and during the time of Olympic, and does not allow non-commercial stuff. So if you're not household names, if you're not named athletes, these people, even if they're in Olympic, you'll see how much financially devastated they are as they are playing for our country, which is kind of ironic when Kobe makes 28 millions without even playing in Olympics. So so there goes on. Then so if we want to compensate all these Olympic athletes, then we need to all pay like Kobe or LeBron or any of these players, and we question these fairness. And to be honest, what is it more fair to you guys? As I'm asking you guys, Kobe making $28 million or U.S. rowing team receiving $400 to $800 just for living expense? Or Usain Bolt like signing 8 million contracts with Puma, or U.S. track team making $15,000 a year. This is only 50% of them that are highly ranked nationals, and just these athletes are really, I think, compared to all other sports, because they don't have popularity, because they don't have undivided attention. This is something that obscure athletes has to go through. Obviously, no one cares about their sports as much as basketball or golf or tennis or football or even swim or gymnastics or things like that. And they have no source of incomes, and they even have to put themselves out there for full-time jobs and ask for sponsorship and everything to fund their dreams and play for themselves. And so as I talked about their financial issues, their unsupported systems, and their fairness, paying for them is something at least we can do. Something at least we can do for them. And what they're putting in for their works and for our country is well deserved, for in my perspective at least. And today I want to tell you guys that we really need to think about these Olympic athletes who are putting their dedication and compensation is something we can at least do for them. The limited amount we can do for them.
Okay, Martin, share your thoughts with us, please.
Alright, good lead-in and introduction. It tied well with the topic. Preview, I wasn't really sure what the preview of the main topics were. You look down a lot, but there are a lot of statistics, which is efficient in backing up your arguments. But I felt like a lot of the times you were like looking into the empty refrigerator. Good, clear examples: Kobe, Roger Federer. Loud, clear tone, voice was animated. Wasn't really sure why they were not supported. And what was your proposition to pay? I didn't understand how these obscure athletes can make more money. So I didn't know what your solution is.
I think his solution is that our tax dollars ought to be supporting Olympic ping pong champions. I think one of the issues that comes up here that you need to do a little bit more background on is that, in the past few years, the line between amateur athletics and professional athletics has basically disappeared. The people who are participating in the Olympics that you mentioned in particular Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, for example, are not amateurs by any stretch of the imagination. They're professionals who've come over from, it's not the Olympic Committee who's paying Kobe $28 million, like you said. It's not Usain Bolt's $8 million is with the sneaker company. It's not with the country that he runs for and is supplied by the Olympic Committee. So there's this line that's changed. The way they defined these things before was problematic. Now, are there a whole bunch of obscure athletes who are trying to get by on next to nothing? That's definitely true. But is that the fault of the Olympics, or is it the fault of the culture, or do we really value these things enough to give them that much attention? That's what I think you need to do a little bit better job of, is selling the value of having people compete at this level. That they look, the achievements are sometimes incredible. I don't know anything about gymnastics. I know next to nothing about equestrian riding. Yes, but I know what it is. you know that sort of thing. But I've seen those sorts of things, and I do know that it takes a lot of dedication to do that, and that those accomplishments are often incredible. But how much money do we need to have to do all those kinds of things? I think there's a little bit of a policy consideration here that needs to be thought out about some more. So, for instance, it might make sense if we had some basic support for all Olympians that was provided for training, for instance, or for living expenses when they are preparing for qualifications on the Olympics, something like that, or maybe in supporting their travel. I don't know how that works. Do the Olympians have to pay their own way, or does the Olympic Committee then take care of it? Once you've qualified for the Olympic Games, does that punch your ticket to wherever it is you happen to be going for the Olympics that year? There's not enough explanation of those sorts of things. I'd agree with Martin that you needed a clearer preview of what was going on. I did like some of the examples that you had, and the comparison, for instance, between the swimmer and the basketball players is a pretty dramatic one. Or the rowing, the women's rowing team, for instance. Yeah, I know what rowing. I know what rows is. That's fish eggs, right? But how much do they need to survive? What's required in order for somebody to get the training, the equipment, and be able to compete at that level? I think you need to develop that argument a little bit more. You're kind of focusing on the fairness of this kind of thing. Well, fairness is largely going to be determined by what worth we give them, and we don't give the same worth to the women's rowing team that we give to the basketball players. Whether or not we should, that's a different argument. You could maybe make that argument that we should be more supportive of those things. And dang, those women, if they win the Olympics, they ought to be getting those $28 million contracts from whoever. Not from me, though.